Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz. This is Comic Corner Classic, also known classic. This is episode number 31, 41, and Doubleshot number 3035. I should point out that also there is not going to be a review for Our Last Crusade, The Rise in the World, and there will not be for the next month. Because, despite the fact that it was released that, oh, it's come back today, nope, that's a big fat lie. Like, you would think, brand spanking new episodes of this anime. Nope. For the next month, we're getting repeats of the first 4 episodes that already aired. Why? Do not know why. Though it could be, maybe the production thing is not fixed yet. Who knows? But let's talk about these 2 books here. First up we have is, this is one of the books I actually got this book 2 months ago, but now I finally got to it. Because I didn't know specifically where it was. I thought it was like over here next to me when I normally come up with my books. But it was actually over there near my shelf. This was a little surprising for you because I did get this at Orlando about 2 months ago. It is Grimm presents The Little Mermaid. This book is famous for being the comic book debut of Meredith Finch, her very first comic she ever wrote. And in case you're curious though, the name of this mermaid is not Ariel. Her name is Erica. Meredith Finch obviously does the writing here. She writes the main story. The story is from John Brusha. The artwork is by Miguel Medina. Oh, in case you're curious, though, does her awesome husband Dave Finch do covers this book? No. No, it is not. These are great covers. So we start with a party on a yacht. And then, of course, the yacht is capsized. Everyone's like falling out because of like a tidal wave. And then, of course, she's saved by she thinks a prince, but nope, it's a mermaid. And the mermaid gets taken up with an octopus. Oh, it's mechanical. And of course there's another octopus gripping at her and pulls her straight to this creature here, referred to as a sea witch. You would think, oh, this is mostly the book's version of Ursula. Kind of. Her throat basically is damaged, she can't speak. So then she wanders into an tiny island surrounded by glass. Yeah, she basically just wandered into this facility. She basically gets into the facility. Oh yeah, and also because, like some foreign fiction, like if mermaids in the water for a certain period of time, her legs turn back. Her legs are turned. And here she's butt naked. And then of course the guy, being very sensible, knows the fact she's butt naked, proceeds to give her some food, walks away very politely, does not look at her body, which good of him for doing that. He's like, And she's like, seriously? I hope you're getting some laughs out of this. Yep. So they could kind of explain how the heck she got here. So apparently she was called away to a ship. Then, apparently the ship was actually a decoy, a ship in distress as a decoy, for this helicopter to pick her up. And then we have this girl whose name is, who's looking for Erica. And she's running on the beach, wearing a long sleeve shirt and pants, obviously. So we're on the beach. But then again, I wouldn't need to. Yep. And then we see the Sea Witch, a much more sexy lady. Oh my gosh. Good job on the artist making this woman very beautiful. I know you're shocked at how fabulous I look after all these years. What's wrong? Don't want to give an old friend a hug? What do you want? Such venom, it hurts. I'm sure you're crushed. People often assume I have no feelings. You're wrong, you know. I do love to watch people suffer. If we really were here not about Eric, wait. I'm sorry. Did you want to talk now? What do you know about Erica? Tell me. The power is human. No, the herder's like, nope, it was actually somebody else. And of course, like, telling the truth, like, someplace else, like, save your daughter. Yep, and apparently she's being experimented upon. Yep, being experimented upon by these scientists who basically upset, who basically probably want to try to build these women and jump back in time 20 years, where, like, oh yeah, this woman goes to this island, meets up with her awesome prince. And of course comes back. By the way, apparently this is actually Atlantis. I guess his reputation of his father. Could be Erica's grandfather. So basically, he kind of becomes the king of Atlantis, in a way. And then we see like this woman, like Olivia. Like change the human, and of course, basically, he goes out. And we see that apparently the palace is like this gigantic fish. Good on the artwork. Artwork is fantastic. It's miniseries. And then we see the sea witch just relaxing. It looks like it's coral. I probably would think that's not comfortable to lay in, but she's part fish, so I guess she's used to it. And of course, basically lasts forever. And of course, then he chats with the witch, and like, you're not like the others. Yep. I promise I won't you die in here. A good job, you're the last thing I do. Yeah, that was test complete. Yep. And then we see look like she's trying to escape, but nope, she's cut up in vines. And it turns out, yeah, just basically just hallucinations. Like, oh, and then look like she's about to be experimented upon. Goes, oh, and of course they chat for a little while, and then they bring in the woman who apparently that the prince has got a pass with, and like, she's here to help. Take it. I'm trying to tell you, she's trying to help us get our baby back. Yep. So, yeah, you're probably thinking, what baby? So apparently she was pregnant at some point, and then she goes to give birth, and then for some reason she's perfectly fine. Then the nurse takes the baby, and there's a cop there. Why in the world is the cop there for is a complete mystery. Like, why would the cops try to stop her from getting her own baby? This is a complete weird thing. And then apparently, like, oh, she just gave birth to this girl, and then she just, without her authorization, her baby is given to these couple for no reason. And of course, basically, that kind of happened. And apparently she's got Murray Powell. Apparently she's got him in the facility. She's basically trying to escape, but then she's held captive. And okay, so then of course you have a key. What's in chapter 4? It's like, I'll talk about basically what he's done. So then basically, yeah. So then of course basically the prince, the king, the current king now, they don't have a name for this guy. He goes off to war to retrieve his daughter, and she proceeds to escape using telepathy to contact a bunch of fish like she's Aquaman. I'm surprised Meredith Finch never wrote Aquaman. She wrote Wonder Woman. Amazing run of Wonder Woman. So basically the Atlantean soldiers proceed to march right in, and they will lead to the conclusion of this miniseries, where it looks like Erica, it looks like she's back in her mermaid form. It's like Jimmy goes, oh, that's my girl. And then of course they have the soldiers fight a bunch, look like a bunch of like a version of the trench. Yes, it looks like a version of the trench, basically Meredith Finch created for this miniseries. And then we see the king where he fires a blast out of his trident. There's like fallback, and of course these creatures like very powerful, like probably experimenting upon creations of this facility. And then we have this monster come out on this awesome 2-page spread. They're like, no, and of course the king's like, Erica? Yes, actually it's Erica. And then she's able to calm down. And of course the king, being very polite, gives her a cloak. And then, of course, some idiot decides to try to shoot her. But look at her father, being a very sensitive person, he gets shot. And of course, always because apparently she finds this guy's actually her father. It's like, soldier's like, don't, if he must die, let it not be invade. Yep. And then the soldiers proceed to fight off. And of course they scream. Of course, the scientist dies. and the creatures don't know what the heck is going on, like suffering, and then just wakes up the trident, of course, becomes a new leader, like the princess, the queen, and then she's running with her mom. Like, your father must have been so proud. Asura, that's basically, that's her father's name, Asura. And then the book ends with her becoming the queen. And in the book. This book is fantastic. I love this book. Meredith Finch herself did an excellent job with this book. And you read this book like, no wonder why, basically, she got the Lord of her job. This book was so good. I give this a 10 out of 10. This was amazing. Oh, and it has been stated by Dave Finch himself. It was actually his idea to get his wife in the comics. But in comics-wise, she hasn't written a lot per se. This is like she's a really good writer. After this, she did a run for Wonder Woman, which came with an issue, I believe, was like 36, left with 52. I think she did an annual for the book. She also did Catwoman Election Night. She also did a issue of Savage Sword of Conan. She did a run for Xena Warrior Princess. She did her own self-published book, Rose, for Image. She also did a miniseries of Conan. I think it was Valeria, I think it was. And that's been it for her. Off the top of my head, that's all of her work. I have reviewed her Wonder Woman book, which is amazing. I have reviewed her work she did for Savage Sword of Conan. But you probably thinking, have you reviewed Catwoman Election Night? I don't think I have. And I've also definitely not reviewed the Valeria from Conan, the Age of Conan miniseries Marvel Comics. And I did ask her how she got the part, how'd she get the job of writing for Conan. Apparently, CBS Sebesky approached her at a Comic-Con to do it, and she agreed to do it, no problem. As for this, I'm not sure how she got to do for Cinescope. It's kind of interesting for what it is. But this next book, I picked it because it's also written by another really good writer who sadly hasn't written anything since like 2003. Yes. Though I have heard he's doing fine. I spoke to Rob Macchio about him, who does know him. That he's doing perfectly fine. He does do conventions, from what I heard. And so we have a book by Doug Moak. This being Planet of the Apes. This is the Marvel Epic Collection Planet of the Apes Adventures. This is the original Marvel years. And when I got this, I didn't know this when I got this book. I kind of heard about this book, but I did not know it was really thin. It is just 11 issues. And it's also, I got this book for like $10 at Comic-Con. And I was like, wow, this was cheap. Really cheap. So, it's 11 issues. It's basically a loose adaptation of the very first Planet of the Apes movie and the second one. Now, those are thinking, aside from this, what is our review for Planet of the Apes? Well, their crossover miniseries was Star Trek. Aside from that, I haven't really done anything with Planet of the Apes. Excuse me. Those are the only thing about Planet of the Apes. Or basically, people kind of know about just the Matt Reeves movies, which I still have not seen. This I've heard they're really good. With the awesome Eddie Serkis as Caesar. The only thing I've seen for Planet of the Apes has been the original 5 movies and the reimagined movie released in 2000 by Tim Burton. That's been it. That's all I've seen for it. Comics-wise, I've just read the miniseries, the crossover with Star Trek, their crossover with King Kong. Yes, believe it or not, they had a crossover with King Kong, which was set after the events of the original movie for some reason. And like a lot of like the Planet of the Apes comic, one crossover with Star Trek, that one basically took place between the original movie and beneath, and then like the finale of the book is like set after the events of like basically like it's a lot of, like the last issue took place during the events of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Beneath Planet of the Apes basically it's kind of like the direct sequel to it. The original movie starred the awesome Charlton Heston in one of his most memorable roles of his whole career. When people think of him, people think of this particular character, who in the movie he's only referred to as Taylor. By Escape Planet of the Apes, he was actually given a rank of Colonel I think his first name was Charles, I believe it was. Yes, he was just in the first movie and the second one. Second one, he was not a major character in the second movie. Like, it was surprising to see him back, and also the fact he has this girl with him named Nova. And yes, I do know about the fact there was an animated series for Planet of the Apes and a short-lived live-action show, which the humans in that series were treated differently than they were in the movies. In the movies, they were mute savages. In the show, they were, like, clothes normally, and they spoke normally. And well, apparently, like, humans can ride horses was kind of odd. So, by the way, we have George DaCosta and Alfredo Akia on the artwork. E.M. Gus has this amazing cover here for this trade. The back cover here, that is Gail Kane and Mike Esposito. The original comic was 11 issues, started in October 1975, concluded in December of 1976. I don't know if there's any other books for this one. I don't know. I know of. So yeah, this, like, it's called Adventures of Planet Apes. So, and then we see basically what we see at the beginning of the movie, where we see a little different because I should point out though, the first 6 issues of the book is adaptation of the first movie. 7 to 11 is adaptation of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I don't know if they ever did it anymore, because Marvel's licensing of the Planet of the Apes now. Those are thinking, how is Marvel going to do this now? Simple. Disney bought Fox, so they got Planet of the Apes. Yeah, initially put basically when they bought Fox. Now they got the rights to X-Men, Fantastic Four. They also apparently got their hands on Alien, Predator, Prometheus, and Planet of the Apes. Somehow, someway they did. As far as I can tell, I haven't heard any new movies released since then. That Marvel has released Planet of the Apes comics. Those of you thinking, like, who was the last time published Planet of the Apes comics? Dark Horse. Yep. So, we started up with Colonel Taylor. You just heard here for Joseph Taylor. We're basically here with his friends, where they crash in a ship. Which, by the way, the artwork has the ship be completely different than what you saw in the movie. In the movie, it was a rocket capsule. Yes. So then he wakes up on this. They think it's another planet, and of course, apparently, their friend Stuart, like in the movie, he did die. So basically, the 3 astronauts, they escape, and they don't think it's Earth. Of course, this is not known until a little bit later. They think it's some distant planet they just landed on. Like, oh, like sun's too red, and like there's so much heat here, and the fact they play a little tiny American flag and everything in the movie. So they just walk around for quite a while. And of course, there's life, and then of course they go swimming. Of course, butt naked, and then of course they hear some noise, put the clothes back on. Well, actually, someone stole their clothes, and well, then they come across some savages. Like, they apparently don't speak any English, they don't speak anything at all, and oh crap, something's coming, and it's a gorilla on horseback. Yes. Like the first apes, technically the gorillas were the military. The orangutans were the people doing all the lawgivers, and the chimpanzees were the scientists. That was simply their roles. These 3 species of apes. But this was an awesome scene in the movie, except it was actually 2 apes seen here on horseback. They also had headdress. There's a headdress too. So they also shot rifles. And then Taylor and Shell was shot in the throat, but he does survive. And then, like in the movie, he doesn't talk for quite a while because he can't speak because he has a bullet in his throat. It does take a while to heal. Oh, and he actually is given some clothes. Because I think in the movie he did have some pants, but I don't think he was able to be butt naked. So, he can't talk, but he hears speech bubbles. Like, I remember now. The hunt. He moves with the prey. And we see, this girl here is named Nova. In the movie, she was given him as a gift. And then we have Zira and Cornelius, who in the original movie, they actually were engaged. In Beneath, they actually got married. Yes. That's a number from the movie itself. I've seen the movie several times. I remember it. So, of course, basically, he's going to get some historical brain damage. Of course, they think he can't speak, but he actually can speak. So, he's given, like, oh, yeah, he writes stuff down. And of course, basically, they don't believe him until he writes something on the floor and meet Dr. Zeus, who actually is a mentor of his. And he thinks basically he can talk, but not really. And then they don't buy the fact he can talk for quite a while. He's given to her, like, oh, he's lonely. Being put on display. And then he's basically fighting other humans for some reason. And then he writes his name on the ground. Of course, they had to cover it up. And then, of course, you have Gorilla saying he writes "I can," which, of course, he's to cover up. Yeah, and he is actually the main tag of this movie, not the main apes themselves. Yep. And then he writes down a notepad, and that's more thieves. And then Zero reads the thing and it says, "My name is Taylor." I think it's a little bit different from the movie itself because I think it was like just regular paper he basically got their hands on. Not some regular notepad. This was a good change. I don't mind this change at all. And you think, oh, does he start speaking? Of course, he writes some stuff down. It's like where you go to school. And he calls basically Cornelius a fool, which is kind of funny. And of course, the point where he... And this actually was not in the movie, where he pointed out on a map where his ship was in a place called the Forbidden Zone. Well, there's a reason why. And then eventually he's able to finally speak. It takes some time, but his throat does finally heal. He tries to escape. And then he says the famous line, he says, "Take your stinky paws off me, you damn dirty ape." And oh, shock the fact he spoke. And it leads to his trial, which at one point they had to take off his outfit. And someone told Charlton Heston this. He said, someone told him, "Nice buns." Yes, seriously. Someone said this to Charlton Heston. Actually, when the man passed away in 2003, my late grandpa actually got a letter from him once. Yes. Because, of course, Charlton Heston at one point was the president of the National Rifle Association, and apparently my late grandpa was actually like a member of it for some reason. So he gets spread, like, what are you doing? And, of course, they have the trial, the show trial. And of course, it's not like speaking, and of course, yeah, they want to make a thing like, hey, what do you know? One of them is your stinky museum. And of course, he's gagged, like, he's trying to get gagged, but nope, he actually does get gagged at one point, but the comic that cuts out. And he finds John Landon, and apparently he was so badly wounded, apparently he suffered brain damage. His other friend was basically stuffed in a museum, which they didn't show in the comic, which in the movie they did. And by the way, the other guy was black. Yes, I'm not kidding about that. He had two white guys and a black guy. Now, I think this was done purely random at the time. I don't think basically the guy was chosen because he was black. They probably did be different. It was the 70s, mind you, and plus, of course, blaxploitation was being very popular at that point. Actually, it came in the late 60s, so I guess... And by the way, in the movie, Charlton Heston's character is never going to be racist toward his black friend. Never. So, of course, basically, like, they try to prove what they are, and, well, of course, they argue back and forth about it. I notice this, doing your power, you're afraid of me. Do what you fear. Yes, Taylor, I do fear of all men. Leading to the penultimate issue, where basically that, so Taylor, Nova, Cornelius, and Zero all basically run away. Of course, they had to fake basically run away. He, of course, gives him a gun, of course, and Nova basically is brought along, and of course, they're going to a place known as the Forbidden Zone, and you're thinking, like, of course, they go to these caves, and they do an archaeological dig, which is perfectly fine. Also, like in the movie, Taylor shaved. Yes, he did this in the movie too, except he had an electric razor at that point. He just basically made like a little rock and just basically shaved his face because he had a beard the whole time. And of course, basically, he's like, And Zero basically had the same reaction here like he did in the movie, where he shaved his face like, "What'd you do that for?" In my world, before I left anyways, only youngsters of your age would actually wear hair unscripted. But that was one of the comics, so yeah, and then of course more horses, of course, didn't shoot them. So then of course they heard humans are descended from, well, and of course you have a dog's like tongue, and then only humans only into forbidden zone is death. Like, what is the forbidden zone? They don't really show it in this book at all, like this point anyways. Yeah. Of course, I'm having a lot of fun with this. So then of course Taylor ties up the lawgiver, who's being a dick the whole movie, and Nova goes with him. And then basically he gives Dr. Zero a kiss goodbye. And he says, "You're so damn ugly." Yes, like in the movie, he kisses an ape because he felt like it. So of course they leave. And of course, on time, of course, they turn to silence. They blow up his archaeological dig, like in the movie too. And then of course, like, and then you see something. Of course, they kind of spoil here. It's like, my God, it can't be. They did. Those damn fools. And we see the Statue of Liberty on its side. And this actually is a major change in the movie. Because in the movie itself, the Statue of Liberty wasn't like this. It was actually like half standing up. And here was also something really weird about this. About this scene. For some strange reason, I have no idea why this was, Fox couldn't help themselves. They spoiled this scene on the frickin' poster of the movie. And they spoiled the cover of the VHS tapes. Yes, seriously, they did this. And that's how the movie ended, with this particular cliffhanger. And then for some reason it's changed to this. Like, what? Because, of course, this area used to be New York City. And then we have some original ones where apparently some time has passed by, where he's a little nuts. We have Nova kissing Taylor, and then, of course, like, they go around the area for a while, and then they come across this mysterious barrier, and then he just goes through. Which, by the way, this actually shown later on in the movie. Yeah, they put this early, which is so good. And then they have the guy named Brent. He actually was a character in the sequel. He was main character in the sequel. Taylor didn't show up again until the end of the movie. So, yeah, in the movie, the ship actually crashed on land, not in the water. So, he died. And then, of course, unlike Charlton Heston's character, so, unlike Taylor, he meets Nova. That name, like Taylor. Of course, he's alive. And then he sneaks to the village. And, of course, some time has passed by. So, there's been sort of protesting. And, of course, in the movie, Zero and Cornelius got married. Because in the first one, like I mentioned, basically, they actually were engaged. So, Ursula's the leader. And, of course, basically, it's like shoot to kill. And then, of course, basically, they really don't know what's going on. And, of course, then Brent proceeds to break in into Cornelius and Zero's home. He, of course, explains he's basically like them. It's like, and, of course, basically, they give him a change of clothes to hide the fact he's actually there. And, of course, by the way, it's not revealed here. In the sequel, it's revealed that Zero is actually pregnant with basically her first child. Yeah, they revealed this in the sequel for some reason. I don't know why, but it was made for the movie. So you have Brent finding out some apes. They, of course, don't explain what's going on here. It's like, yeah, and then, of course, basically, at one point you have, then, of course, they're held off, and then of course, he strangles the gorilla, steals a couple horses, and they ride off, and then they end up in Queensboro Plaza. So, yes, in the sequel, they confirmed actually this was New York, although they showed the first movie was basically Statue of Liberty. It's like, the entire world has been destroyed. And, of course, in the Queensboro Plaza, I don't remember if they actually went here at all. I think they did. This is a former subway. So, It's a subway, so it's like a nightmare. It's like a wasteland. How it got like this, I think it was explained in the sequel that somehow the apes basically revolt against the humans, and they basically decided to fire a bunch of missiles across the freaking planet, initiating World War III, basically eviscerating the whole human race. So we have the mysterious citadel underground, which, yes, they had this in the movie too. And of course, they see the gold. Of course, everything's all nice, except the water is big toxic. Yeah, the water's toxic, and then they go to a church where, by the way, this is where they have people mutated, and for some reason, they changed the book because this thing looks completely different than the movie. You see, in this church, this cult worships a freaking bomb. In the movie, in here it's a smaller bomb. In the movie, it was a giant half missile. Yes, seriously. So they explain what's going on here. It's like lips are moving. Of course, apparently it's telepathy, and they explain what's going on here. A little bomb thing. Of course, it leads toward the end here. All things let's go with peace, and then or they have the mutants basically show the true faces, and of course they have Brent won the Taylor, and of course they know each other. And by the way, was landing here, we actually have Noah finally speak for the first time. Why she didn't speak in the first movie? Completely unknown. Then she says, Taylor. Yep. So they go in, of course they find the citadel, of course they knock down a statue. Actually, it looks like they're demolishing a statue, of course they march in. And it will lead to the final issue of the book. Yes, where they actually go into the ruined city, like Jenny Russes, who actually just gets shot later on by Brent. Yep. And of course there's like all-out battle here, and of course Nova's there. Forward human. And it's like, must activate. Yeah, and of course Earth has no idea what the heck is going on and see where your god is. Earth, stop, you fool. So this is what I mean of this. It's a weapon built by me. You can't shoot it down with a couple bullets. Yeah, that's definitely true. Drop your gun. And of course Brent proceeds to, unlike in the movie, actually hit a freaking piano. And then we have where, get this, it is Taylor who activates the bomb. Yeah, die, you dirty animal. Yeah, and then he gets shot. And then the bomb is activating. And the movie ended with the Earth in the future blowing up. Ending beneath Planet of the Apes. They don't show it here, but this book is overall really, really good. I love this book. Yeah, they changes, obviously. Yeah. And like I said before, the only reason I know about this movie so well is because I've seen it multiple times. It's an amazing classic movie. I recommend checking everybody out. This book is fantastic. This book, a 10 out of 10. I would say dialogue-wise, they did a fantastic job. Doug Moak did an amazing job with the dialogue. The apes look fantastic in this book. I would say probably the only weakness in the artwork per se is probably how they draw Taylor. Yes, he does not look like Charlton Heston, obviously. Brent actually kind of looked like the actor. Nova, yes. I would say Charlton Heston was the only one who probably didn't agree to have his likeness used here. But also the colors of the suits look a little different than they were in the movie. But overall, this book is fantastic. And if you're really curious, I think they got the license to publish this book after the conclusion of the movies. Here we go. Comics. And yeah, and Marvel was definitely the first one here to publish them, because the previous published is a manga, then Goki, and then we had this. And those of you curious, was there any other comic they published for Marvel? They just published Planet of the Apes and this. This is just an adaptation of the movies. Boom Studios had it. Okay, I thought it was basically I thought it was Dark Horse. No, it's actually I thought it was Dark Horse. My mistake. But Yeah, this is only one comic they worked on. They only worked on 2 comics. Yeah, this and the ongoing Planet of the Apes book. Which, of course, yes, they did collect this book in this epic collection, which was, of course, really good. I don't know why they haven't done any more of this stuff, but this book is overall really, really good. I enjoyed this. Let's see. I remember there was one basically where they basically did with Kong, I think it was. So, oh yeah, they had Tarzan. Yeah, they had. I remember that one. They also had Green Lantern. Yes, believe it or not, they had a Green Lantern book. Or was Green Lantern Planet Apes? I read that too. But I've only read just this book. I've reviewed this book now, plus the Star Trek Planet Apes one, which was amazing. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it, particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I will see you a bit for another Comic Corner, but yeah. So, until this next video, bye.